systematically. So thyroid gland is the endocrine gland which is situated right in front of the neck, isn't it? So you are finding, see, this is hyoid bone, thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, then we have tracheal rings. Okay, then you have two lobes of the thyroid gland and then isthmus. Isthmus is actually lying in front of third, fourth, fifth tracheal rings, and these lobes are almost extending up to the thyroid cartilage. Though this is a small picture, but still it gives you the layout of the things, isn't it? This is butterfly shaped gland what you are finding in front of the neck. Is it correct? Okay. Then you are finding, I hope you are able to listen to me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh. So this muscle what you are finding is sternocleidomastoid. Okay. This is sternocleidomastoid. It has sternal head and it also has clavicular head. Okay, so that means it is forming some like anterior relations. So always you should have an idea of the thing what we are studying so that it becomes easy. Now this picture is same, like it has been zoomed. You are finding two lobes, then isthmus, and we can see it, isthmus is lying in front of the tracheal rings. Okay, and it is anteriorly overlapped by the muscle sternocleidomastoid. Okay, so two lobes isthmus, and from the isthmus you are finding there is one projection which is called as pyramidal lobe. Sometimes there may be an embryological remnant or a structure, a fibrous band like this, which is not always present, and if present it's called as levator glandulae thyroidae. Levator glandulae thyroidae. Okay, so it is an endocrine gland. When you see posteriorly, it is situated in front of T5, T6, T7 and T1 vertebra. Okay, these are the posterior, and in front it is present in front of the upper part of the trachea. Okay, each lobe I told you it is almost going up to the thyroid cartilage, middle part of the thyroid cartilage. Okay, to lower down third or fourth tracheal ring. Isthmus is right in front of second to fourth tracheal ring. Okay, now see, these are the dimensions. Now that means how much does it measure? Each lobe, it is 5 centimeters in length, 2.5 centimeters in width and 2.5 centimeters in thickness. And the weight of thyroid gland is 25 grams. And of course it is larger in females than in males, and in females it further increases during menstruation and pregnancy. Okay, beta. Now see, this is the thyroid gland. You are finding the outermost covering, which is called as thyroid capsule. Actually, it has two capsules, as Hema was telling us. We have false capsule and true capsule. And if you remember, we have studied in our classes when we were doing the deep fascia of neck, we had fascias like investing layer. One of the fascia was also pretracheal layer. Pretrachea means right in front of the trachea, it splits to enclose the thyroid gland and it forms the false capsule. One of the deep fascia of the neck called as pretracheal fascia splits to enclose the thyroid gland. Okay, then the condensation of the thyroid glandular tissue itself forms the true capsule. That means outside we have false capsule and inside we have true capsule. Now for example, if you observe this, this is the glandular parenchymatous tissue of the thyroid gland. Okay, and this green line is indicating true capsule which is inside. Outside we have false capsule. Okay, and below the true capsule we have venous network formed by the thyroid veins. So that means if you want to do thyroidectomy, that is the removal of thyroid gland in case of tumors or goiter or cancers, then you have to always see you are removing the thyroid gland along with this venous network, because if you are disturbing this, that means we have to remove the gland along with true capsule, so that to prevent bleeding. Okay, so here one comparative study is given. Anyhow, we will be doing prostate gland also, where also we have inside is true capsule and outside is false capsule, but between these true and false capsules we have venous plexus. So during prostatectomy, that is the removal of prostate, we leave behind two capsules, two. True also you leave it, false also you leave it. Okay, because as though you are scooping out ice cream from the container, like that, you are just scooping out the gland and throwing it out. and leaving the capsules behind so that you are not disturbing veins here, so as to prevent bleeding better. Okay, that is comparative study given here. You need not write this point in your exam, because as such you will have very less time, half an hour essay question, 100 marks paper. You have to be like too much smart to manage your time while you are answering your answer sheet. So these are the two capsules. Now parts, now here apex. Now as Hema was telling us, when you talk about each lobe has apex and then it has base. Okay, when you talk about each lobe, it has certain borders and surfaces. Okay, like it is 3D picture, right? So it has one, what are the various borders it has? Let us see, I'll tell you. Like three borders, we are talking about lobes, yeah. So it has how many borders beta? Two borders, anterior and posterior, and three surfaces it has. What are those? Lateral, medial and posterolateral. Okay, so one is lateral and the other is medial and the other is posterolateral, and two borders it has. One is anterior and posterior. When you look at this pointed thing, this is apex, which is going almost up to the middle of the thyroid cartilage. This particular area of the lobe is called as base, which almost goes up to fifth or sixth tracheal rings. Okay, so we have apex, base, fourth or fifth trachea. One or two tracheal ring is fine, better, not a problem. Okay, then and when I talk about this, I will tell you how it is. Now, as we move with blood supply, I'll tell you. Now you need to practice this diagram in order to understand the relations. Now before I go to relations, we should also talk about isthmus. Isthmus is very simple. It has, suppose this is isthmus, it has upper border, it has lower border, it has anterior surface and then it has posterior surface. Okay beta? Upper border, lower border, anterior surface and posterior surface. Upper border has a projection, that is pyramidal lobe. Now see here, now see, this is complete thyroid gland, right lobe, left lobe, isthmus. Now, what are the various muscles, strap muscles or ribbon muscles we find in the head and neck region? Thyrohyoid, sternothyroid, thyrohyoid, omohyoid. Do you remember, beta? These are ribbon muscles or flat muscles of the neck. No, they actually form anterior relations of thyroid gland. So, what are the muscles we are finding? Sternothyroid, then superior belly of omohyoid, and sternohyoid. Laterally, the bulkiest among all this is sternocleidomastoid. Isthmus, anteriorly it is related to superior belly of omohyoid and also sternohyoid. Posteriorly it is related to two tubes. One is trachea and the other is esophagus. Behind esophagus we have this retropharyngeal space or buccopharyngeal fascia. Okay. Now, this is all about relations of the thyroid gland. Now, when you talk about, just now, Hema was telling like it is supplied by superior and inferior thyroid artery. This is only half of the diagram what we are finding in the thyroid gland. This is one lobe and this is isthmus. In the lobe also, this is apex area. So, apex area is closely related to the branches of superior thyroid artery, and it is also accompanied by the nerve, that is external laryngeal nerve. External laryngeal nerve in fact is a branch of superior laryngeal nerve, which in turn is a branch of vagus. Okay, so that is the relation of this. Apex anteriorly is related to anterior thyroid artery and posteriorly it would be related to posterior thyroid artery. Okay, this is actually trachea and this is esophagus. No, in between this area you call it as tracheoesophageal groove. Tracheoesophageal groove. In the tracheoesophageal groove you are finding one nerve. This is also branch of vagus. It comes reverse direction from the thorax into head and neck. That's why when it takes a reverse course you use the word recurrent laryngeal nerve. So whatever I'm telling you is written here. Then simple thing, but now coming to blood supply, simple picture, you can look at this picture. Only half of the isthmus and one lobe is shown. You are shown superior thyroid artery, branch of external carotid artery. At the apex of the lobe, it divides into anterior branch and posterior branch. Anterior branch moves along the anterior border and comes at the upper border of the isthmus, and it anastomoses with its fellow on opposite side. That means right anterior branch anastomoses with the left anterior branch. That's it. Whole gland is not shown here. This is posterior branch. Posterior branch goes along the posterior border, and then it is anastomosing with the ascending branch of inferior thyroid artery. And this is the anastomosis. Okay, that is. So this is of course like apex. The superior thyroid artery is closely related to external laryngeal nerve, and inferior thyroid artery will be closely related to recurrent laryngeal nerve. So we need to protect these nerves when we are doing thyroid surgery by ligating this vessel away from the gland so that you are not damaging this nerve. Suppose if these nerves are damaged, person will develop hoarseness of voice, because like these nerves are actually concerned with the nerve supply of larynx, voice box. Especially recurrent laryngeal nerve supplies below the vocal cords. Okay, external laryngeal nerve supplies which muscle? Muscles of larynx, cricothyroid. Okay. No, that was blood supply, arterial supply. Coming to venous drainage, we have three set of veins. One, two, three. First is superior thyroid vein. Second one is middle thyroid vein. Last one is inferior thyroid vein. All these three set of thyroid veins will drain into internal jugular vein. Okay, internal jugular vein. Please remember this. Okay. Then so lymphatic drainage, just try to remember nearby lymph nodes. Okay. So lymph from the upper part is going to deep cervical, upper deep cervical lymph nodes. Okay. Lymph from the lower part is draining into lower deep cervical lymph nodes. That's enough better. Okay. Histology. Histology, it has like these are all glandular tissue. These are thyroid follicles. In between thyroid follicles, we have parafollicular cells releasing calcitonin, isn't it? Which helps in lowering the blood calcium level, what we have discussed in physiology or biochemistry topic recently. Okay. Features and relations, capsules, blood supply, development, and surgical anatomy. Okay. So development, see, again Hima was telling us this thyroglossal duct, the word she has used. So that means in the floor of the mouth, you have like in during the development of tongue, you have come across this word foramen cecum. So from that foramen cecum area only, there is one duct which is growing downwards, which bifurcates. It comes and it joins the fourth pharyngeal pouch, and it finally grows into two lobes of the thyroid gland. The intermediate area would be isthmus. Okay. Then surgical anatomy, in the sense in thyroid gland enlargement, usually you call it as goiter. If the gland is working more, you call it as hyperthyroidism. If it is working less, you call it as hypothyroidism. Thyroidectomy is the removal of thyroid gland. We have to take care of external laryngeal nerve during thyroid surgeries, just ligating the superior thyroid artery close to the gland so that you are not damaging the external laryngeal nerve. Similarly, you need to protect the recurrent laryngeal nerve also by just tying this inferior thyroid artery away from the gland. Okay, this is the surgical point, very very important, you have to know. Hypothyroidism in children is actually called as cretinism in infants. Okay, tumors of the gland. So that is all about thyroid beta. Now let us see the next question from head and neck. Mm, mm. Salsager and functional areas of cerebral cortex. Okay. Middle ear is there. Palate development, axillary nerve, interior of larynx, histology of lymph node, layers of retina, ligamentum denticulatum, and fibrous joints. Okay. So whichever comes first, we will see that. Okay, so I think in order we will go with middle ear first. If larynx comes first, I'll tell larynx. Tell me what is present inside the larynx, beta? Interior of larynx. There is a cut section, right? Hmm. Vocal cords. How are they formed? Okay, anyhow, we have reached head and neck, so I will go whatever question comes first because this is mm, textbook is not moving fast, so I would like to take whichever answer comes first. Pharynx. There is a question on histology of lymph node. Lymph node will look almost like tonsil, but this stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium will not be there. You will have only capsule. Below capsule, you will have all lymphatic nodules. Same thing. So lymphatic nodules will have peripheral mature lymphocytes, and in the center we have germinal center. Then we have medullary cords and medullary sinuses in the middle. That has come for 2 marks. After yeah, larynx, interior of larynx we will talk first. Basically, larynx is made up of what? Laryngeal cartilages. We have three paired cartilages and three unpaired. The three paired cartilages are what? Do you remember? Let us talk about unpaired ones first. Thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, and epiglottis. These are the three unpaired ones. Then we have arytenoid cartilage, then corniculate and cuneiform cartilages, which are actually called as paired cartilage. Arytenoid, carniculate, and cuneiform. Okay, these are all thyroid like laryngeal cartilages, and these are tracheal rings, C-shaped, C-shaped. So this is all important because it has attachment of muscles controlling the movements of laryngeal cartilages. It's important because it is a voice box. It helps in the production of voice. Now, this is actually called as the coronal section. Okay, that means the larynx has been cut in this direction. Okay, so in this section, what are we finding? First of all, you should know what are the cartilages here. Suppose if you, unless you understand that, you won't be able to. See, this is anterior view, beta. First, you try to understand. The first cartilage you have is thyroid cartilage. This is tracheal ring. Okay, this is hyoid bone. From behind, you are finding epiglottis, anterior view. But when you see from behind, this is cricoid. I said no. This is actually ring, and this is lamina. That means behind it is broad and anteriorly it is narrow. Which cartilage is this? Cricoid cartilage. And this is from the posterior view of thyroid cartilage. Now, over the upper border of the cricoid cartilage, we will see corniculate and cuneiform cartilages. Leaf-shaped cartilage is epiglottis. Now, connecting between the hyoid bone and thyroid cartilage, you have a membrane called as thyrohyoid membrane. Called as thyrohyoid membrane. Similarly, between the thyroid and cricoid cartilages, we have one more membrane called as cricothyroid membrane. Okay, it will be labeled somewhere. Cricothyroid membrane. Now, when you just make a coronal section of it, all these membranes will be visible. Okay, then this is cricotracheal membrane between the cricoid and trachea. Okay, so these are all membranes. See, this is side view from outside. Okay, This is thyroid cartilage, epiglottis, then cricoid cartilage, tracheal rings. Then when you see from, see this is the interior of larynx. That means now you are finding only half of thyroid cartilage, right? This is anterior view. You are finding which cartilage here? Thyroid cartilage. This is cricoid. Okay, ring and lamina. Thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, arytenoid cartilage, corniculate and cuneiform. This is hyoid bone. I hope you have got the layout of the picture. Okay, this is the interior view, inside view. Inside you have just cut and you are seeing from inside. Thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage. I told you at the upper border of the lamina of the cricoid we have the arytenoid, above which we have corniculate and cuneiform. Now when you do the cut section, you are finding a fold inside. This fold is nothing but the vocal cords. Okay, vocal cords which are responsible for voice production. So these vocal cords have certain folds. Okay, what are those? We have vestibular fold. Okay, lower down you call it as vocal fold, vestibular fold, and this lower down is vocal fold. Okay, and in the middle this white area is actually sinus of larynx, which I told as vocal cords. This is sinus of larynx. Now from the vestibular fold, what is this cartilage? Leaf like cartilage, epiglottis, isn't it?
Epiglottis.
Just okay, but also you are finding, so this is cricoid cartilage and carniculate and cuneiform. So that means the upper fold, what you are finding is the vestibular fold, and lower fold is vocal fold, and this is the sinus of larynx. Okay, and overall this green membrane, what you are finding between the epiglottis and the vestibular fold, you call it as quadrate membrane or quadrangular membrane. Okay, so now this is one view, and there is one more picture for the interior. See, this is the picture what examiner usually expects from you, beta. Okay, so this section, so this is again interior of larynx. You have cut in this way. Like again, I'll give you the orientation. You are finding these are the two laminae of thyroid cartilage. Okay, this is cricoid cartilage. That means you have cut in this way. The tube is like this, and you have cut in this direction. Okay, so you are finding two laminae of the thyroid cartilage, then this is cricoid cartilage, these are the tracheal rings, isn't it? Now, just now I told you we have this sinus of larynx, it's now named as ventricle, same meaning, synonyms, ventricle. The above folds are what? Vestibular folds. Then what are the below folds? Vocal folds. What is this membrane? Just now I told you green membrane, quadrate. I also told you it is quadrangular. Okay, so this what you find from inside is the cavity of larynx, also called as interior of larynx. Okay, draw this picture and just read once and you try to give the explanation which is given here. Now, on either side of epiglottis and hyoid bone, you are finding two pouches, two pockets, where as though you can carry some smuggling things. Like in olden days, people used to carry gold and also some drugs and all in these pockets. This fossa is called as smuggler's fossa, also called as pyriform fossa. And this area is quite sensitive, and those drugs used to be inserted by ENT doctors. Okay. Now this pyriform fossa, here we have a nerve called as internal laryngeal nerve. In this act, suppose if this nerve is damaged, then person will suffer with hoarseness of voice, okay, or loss of voice, aphonia. Okay, because above vestibular folds the nerve supply comes from internal laryngeal nerve, below these vocal folds the nerve supply comes from recurrent laryngeal nerve. Okay, that is. Now after that we have middle ear, I guess. in order. Tongue. How many boundaries does middle ear have? Hema? It is something like 3D picture, beta. You need to understand so much. Okay. Are you all with me, listening to me or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody is answering, so I'm worried. Okay. See, this middle ear is like a box. Okay. It's like a cube. Rubik cube, what you play. Okay, so it has roof, it has floor, it has anterior wall, it has posterior wall, it has medial wall and lateral wall. Like it is like a cube. Now, when you talk about boundaries of middle ear, you should know like what are the bones contributing each like wall. So now see here, this is external ear, this is external acoustic meatus, and this is tympanic membrane which is forming partition between middle ear and external ear beta. So that means tympanic membrane forms which boundary? Try to be interactive beta. Lateral side. Tympanic membrane forms lateral boundary. This red cavity is all middle ear cavity, red cavity, where you are finding miss bones, malleus, incus, and stapes bones. Okay, this is the middle ear cavity. Laterally, I am telling you the simple boundary first. This laterally it is bounded by tympanic membrane. Medially it is bounded by first coil of cochlea, which is called as promontory. Medially it will have promontory, foot plate of stapes, fixing in oval window. Okay, then anteriorly it has communication with the nasopharynx. Anteriorly it has communication with nasopharynx via eustachian tube. Posteriorly it is nothing but mastoid process, mastoid air cells and mastoid process. Posteriorly roof is formed by temporal bone, and the part of the temporal bone which is forming roof is called as tegmen tympani. Tegmen tympani. Floor is also formed by temporal bone, and the part of the temporal bone actually which separates the floor from the jugular vein, jugular venous bulb it is called as. I repeat all the boundaries again. Try to tell how many boundaries does it have?
Six,
Yeah, loudly.
oh,
6 boundaries.
six
Okay.
boundaries.
Yeah, laterally,
Tympanic membrane,
very good. Medially,
promontory,
very good. And this oval window, round window, okay,
uh,
which are very good. Okay, anteriorly,
eustachian tube,
posteriorly,
uh, um, that plate.
mastoid process.
Acha, okay, mastoid process. Okay.
Mastoid process.
Mm.
Okay, superiorly, roof.
Tegment tympani.
Very good. It is the part of temporal bone which is forming the
Temporal.
roof of middle ear. Special name is given. You call it as tegmen tympani. Very good. Floor,
Mm. Jugular bulb.
excellent. Jugular venous bulb. Actually, it is also formed by which bone? Whole ear is
Temporal bone
temporal
only.
bone, temporal
Mm.
bone. Okay, beta?
Mm.
So this
Yes,
only
ma'am.
has been elaborated. Now, after
Mm.
that, what are the contents you are finding here? Inside,
Malleus incus stapes.
very good. Malleus, incus, and stapes. And then you are finding two muscles also, no? What are those? Two muscles we find. One is stapedius and the other is tensor tympani.
Okay.
Okay, tensor
Mm.
tympani and stapedius. We also
Mm.
find a course of one nerve here. The name of the nerve is facial nerve. Cauda tympani branch actually passes through like it is going via middle ear. Finally, facial nerve comes out through which foramen? Stylomastoid foramen to enter
Foramen.
into parotid gland and to supply the face. Okay, so the
Yes.
course of cauda tympani is actually related to middle ear. Okay, beta. So that is,
Mm.
read once. If you are finding difficult, you can go like Shaukat Kazi is also a simple book. You can just refer to that book also.
Mm.
Then interior of larynx, layers of retina. Okay. Then we will go with Salsa and Gaire of cerebrum beta. That is only long question. Remaining are all simple. What is okay? Because link will go in 2 minutes. We will discuss about implantation. What is implantation beta?
Mm.
Implantation is nothing but the sperm and ovum. Where is the fertilization taking place? Inside the ampulla of fallopian tube.
Okay.
Once the fertilization occurs in the ampulla of fallopian tube, what you will see is the movement of fertilized ovum. From there, it comes to uterus, no? And that's what is trophoblast. The trophoblast gets buried inside the endometrium, isn't it? That's what is implantation. That means trophoblast is getting buried inside the endometrium of the uterus. As though seed is getting buried inside the soil, you will see trophoblast getting buried inside the endometrium. That's what is implantation. Okay, in human beings, because it is getting completely burrowed, you use the word interstitial implantation. Interstitial implantation. Okay, there is also one 2 marks question like layers of retina. So all layers are shown here, beta. So from outside, if you see, we have pigment cell layer, layer of rods and cones, outer limiting membrane, outer plexiform, inner nuclear, inner plexiform, ganglion layer, and inner limiting membrane. Okay. So these are the various layers we have. Okay, of retina. It's only for 2 marks, beta. You just name the layers, you will get 2 marks. Okay. What are fibrous joints? Think over before I send the next link.